someone that's afraid to let go. You decide if you're ever gonna let me know. Yeah, suicide if you ever try to let go.
Hey guys, what's up? It's Nick here and I'm back with another tech review. You guys are probably surprised that I'm uploading one so soon right after the last one. Don't know when this is being uploaded, but I'm guessing it's probably on the Sunday after Christmas. Then it's been about 3 weeks since I posted the last one, and that's because I don't really have any other good video ideas right now. And I just started my Christmas break. As of recording this, it's currently December 23rd. But I've been sick for the last week, as you could probably tell by the way my voice sounds. I'm not sick anymore, per se. Like, I don't feel sick. But I do have a virus in my throat, but, it's going away. So, I mean, I'm kind of healing up just in time for the holidays, I guess. But yeah. Anyways, today's review is going to be on the iPhone 4S. And this is one I've been trying to do for the longest time now, because this is the iPhone I've been trying to collect for, this is the number one iPhone I've been trying to collect, and I finally got it a couple months ago. Now, I say this for every single tech review that I've been wanting to do it forever. And I mean, I have all these pieces of tech that I want to review, but it takes me so long to do it just because I'm so lazy. Yeah, so that's why I'm always saying that. But anyways, let's begin with today's review. So the iPhone 4S was released in late 2011 and was the last iPhone with a 3.5-inch display. And it also was the second ever S upgrade to an iPhone. It brought minor incremental upgrades like a better processor, a better camera, and it also brought Siri, the first voice assistant on the phone, or from what I know is the first voice assistant on an iPhone. And this was a pretty big thing back in the day. This was also the last iPhone that was released around the time when Steve Jobs was alive, and he passed away after its unveiling, so it adds a little bit of a sadness to it. The design is basically identical to the iPhone 4 from the previous year. It has a glass front and back and a stainless steel frame. In my opinion, this is probably one of the best iPhone designs ever, right next to the iPhone 5. And if this design sounds familiar, this is exactly what the newer iPhones have. It's kind of crazy to think that Apple had it back in the day, and this isn't really... Okay, so here's my iPhone 8 right next to the iPhone 4S, and they're not really super similar in design. My 8 Plus has aluminum side, but they still have glass front and back, so that's why it's pretty similar. And yeah, that's why I was kind of excited to get my iPhone 8, or when I got it. That's one of the reasons I got it, because of the glass design. It reminded me a lot of the iPhone 4 and 4S, because my dad used to own a 4S back in the day, and it was pretty cool. Again, I absolutely love this design, and it's basically been familiar with me for the last 10 years when the iPhone 4 came out, because again, my dad used to own a 4S back in the day, and the design was so familiar, and it has so much memories, more than the iPhone 3GS. While the 3GS design is definitely a little more retro, I was more familiar with the iPhone 4 design, and again, I absolutely love it, and a lot of people do. And nowadays, glass and stainless steel are the norm for newer iPhones. Don't know why, but I mean, I guess Apple basically was kind of future-proof with this iPhone back in the day. Also, the design is squarish, which I absolutely love, because not only is it more retro, but you can stand the phone up. And I didn't really get any shots of the phone standing up while filming, but it is convenient, I guess, if you kind of want to have it standing for that kind of reason. I don't know, I absolutely love the boxy design, and they brought it back with the iPhone 12, which was pretty cool, although it kind of more looks like an iPhone 5 than the 4S, I guess. At the top of the phone, we have the power button and the headphone jack, which is kind of a weird place for that jack, but I guess it's better than not having one. On the sides, you have the volume buttons and the ringer and mute switch. At the bottom of the phone, you have the 30-pin connector, which I still remember a lot. You guys remember when you can only plug these in one direction? It got annoying, but I don't know, I guess it was more satisfying and somewhat, I don't know, just something about it, just so damn nostalgic. I'm pretty sure at least one of us has one of these laying around. On the side of the phone, we have the SIM card tray, and this one actually had bigger SIM cards, which I think I called their micro SIM cards, as opposed to nano SIM cards now. As you can see the difference here between my iPhone 6. This was the last iPhone to actually have the micro SIM cards before Apple switched over to nano SIM cards with the iPhone 5. Right below the display, we have the home button, which does not have Touch ID, and Touch ID was not introduced till the next 2 years with the iPhone 5s. So if you want security, you have to put in the passcode the old-fashioned way. And I absolutely love these old home buttons, as I mean they're not convenient anymore. They are pretty nostalgic, and this button is specific with older iPhones. Between this one and the first iPhone, the home buttons were kind of sticky and would kind of get stuck a little bit. With my iPhone 4S, I have no problems, but it does feel kind of sticky as opposed to, newer iPhones. Like with the iPhone 5, they were more reliable, and supposedly the home button had a lot of breaking issues back in the day with the older iPhones, so Apple fixed that with the iPhone 5. The iPhone 5 was a massive upgrade over the iPhone 4S in so many ways, and one day when I get an iPhone 5 again, I'll make a review on it and I'll compare both phones just to show y'all how much of a difference there is between these two phones. It's pretty damn crazy. The display on the iPhone 4S is pretty tiny with a 3.5-inch display. This was again the last iPhone to have this size display when Apple switched it to 4 inches with the iPhone 5. If it's getting annoying how I'm saying the iPhone 5 changed this and that, I mean it's true. Again, the iPhone 5 just changed so many things. But this was the last iPhone with a 3.5-inch display, and I guess at the time it was okay. Not many people complained about it. And the screen resolution for the time was pretty good, and still to this day is not really bad at all. Its resolution is 640 by 960 and has a pixel density of 326 pixels per inch. This was Apple's second iPhone to have the Retina display, as it has the same design as the iPhone 4, and my god, it looks so good, especially compared to my iPhone 3GS. It just makes that display look really, really bad, and I mean it is, but you guys get the idea. The Retina display on the iPhone 4 and 4S just looks so much better, and Apple did the right move switching to the Retina display in 2010 with the iPhone 4. It looks pretty damn good. iOS 9 on it makes it look more modern, considering this phone is from 2011 and it's pretty old. Although iOS 9 shouldn't be on here, I'll get to that later on, but first let's move on to the next part, which is the camera. This was another big upgrade on the iPhone 4S over the iPhone 4, as it got a major camera bump. It went from 5 megapixels on the iPhone 4 to 8 megapixels on the iPhone 4S, as well as also getting full HD video at 1080p at 30 frames per second. In 2011, this was a pretty big move, as no other smartphone, I think no other smartphone had a camera this good in 2011, and Apple just killed it out of the park with this. And to this day, this camera is actually not that bad. It's almost like my iPhone 6 camera, maybe a little worse, as between the iPhone 4S and the iPhone 6, since it's the same megapixel count, they didn't really make huge upgrades, unlike with the iPhone 6s with 12 megapixels. When they had changed that, they just made the quality look better there. But now with the iPhone 12, it's the same megapixel count, but there's so much different improvements. So with that, it's different than with the iPhone 4S and the iPhone 6. They're kind of similar, just a couple minor things. But again, the camera is not actually that bad on the iPhone 4S. At least the rear camera is. The selfie camera is pretty terrible with 0.3 megapixels, and it can shoot 480p video at 30 frames per second. This was the second iPhone with the selfie camera, and I think, as you guys would expect, it looks like the second ever selfie camera on an iPhone. It's pretty damn bad. Pictures are so blurry, and Apple improved this with the next iPhone, the iPhone 5, by increasing it to 1.2 megapixels, and it looks so much better. So yeah, the camera was definitely a huge point of the iPhone 4S, and probably my favorite aspect of all, as it has not aged poorly, and it actually has aged pretty decently, and it's definitely not great anymore. It can get bad in low light shots, but for the most part, it's actually pretty decent and surprisingly impressive for a 2011 smartphone. But anyways, I'll put up some photos I took on the screen for you guys to see for yourself.
This is being filmed on the iPhone 4S in 1080p at 30 frames per second, and it actually looks pretty decent.
The technical specs of the iPhone 4S is probably where this iPhone has not only aged the worst in, but also aged the worst in any iPhone ever. It carries the dual-core Apple A5 chipset, which was new at the time, clocked at 1 GHz, as well as 512 MB of RAM. This definitely is not a lot, but for 2011, I think it was more than good enough at the time. But down as time progressed, this phone got pretty damn slow. The iPhone 4S shipped with iOS 5 in 2011 and runs all the way to iOS 9.3.5 up until August 2016. That's 5 years of support for a 2011 smartphone. However, last July, Apple pushed out iOS 9.3.6, which mainly was a minor security update, and it patched a bug in the maps. I think that and a couple other minor things, which was quite surprising that in 2019 Apple pushed out an update for a 2011 smartphone. It really goes to show how much Apple is good at supporting their older devices, even though in this case with the iPhone 4S it was a pretty bad idea. And I bet you right now a lot of people saw this coming, or they knew that I was going to say this, because I'm pretty sure everybody, if you know, then you know how the iPhone 4S has aged pretty bad. So it ran again from iOS 5 to iOS 9, and that was the issue. iOS 9 it did and still runs absolutely horrible on the iPhone 4S. I'm pretty sure everybody is already aware of everything that happened with the iPhone 4S. Apple pushed iOS 9 to it, and technically it was capable of running it because of the dual-core processor. And in theory, it was capable. It was just the amount of RAM. It only had 512 megabytes of RAM, or half a gigabyte of RAM, and thus was not enough for it to handle iOS 9. So on iOS 5 and on iOS 6, this iPhone ran pretty much spiffy. On iOS 7, it slowed down a little bit, but it's still pretty usable. On iOS 8, it slowed down significantly, but it was still okay. And then they updated it to iOS 9, and that's where things got a pretty bad turn. I don't know why Apple updated it to iOS 9. They should have just stuck it on iOS 8. It probably would have been way better that way. And yeah, that's basically the history, or how badly the iPhone 4S aged. It's practically unusable on iOS 9. There is constant lag and a bunch of bugs everywhere, and it's not a good experience, especially for those who had an iPhone 4S around the iOS 9 days. And I even know a few people who still own an iPhone 4S, and I don't know how they're living with that phone, but I would have probably been dead by now at this point, honestly. So basically, that's how to sum up the performance. It runs like trash on iOS 9. However, there are benefits to having iOS 9. Back in the day, there were benefits, of course, with it getting some of the new features, the newer security updates, as well as more app support. So right now on iOS 9, you can't really run most current versions of apps. Right now, the minimum requirement for iOS apps is, I believe, iOS 11 and 12, and I think some on iOS 10. There are a couple apps, some newest version of apps you can run, like the Facebook Messenger. You can run the latest version of that on iOS 9. And there are, close to current versions of most apps, like YouTube, for example. Most of these apps were basically all from like September of 2018, which was about 2 years ago. And stuff hasn't really changed that much in terms of apps. So again, it's close to current version of most apps. But that doesn't make up the fact that it still runs horrible on iOS 9. And even on iOS 8, it probably would have been way faster, even though it was still not super great. Would have been a lot better than iOS 9. And I know this because I've used an iPad 2 on iOS 8. When my sister first got her iPad 2, I downgraded it to iOS 8, and I've used it for a bit. And it was actually pretty good. And both devices share the same processor and the same amount of RAM. So yeah, I still don't know why Apple pushed it out. The theory at the time was that Apple was purposely slowing down the iPhone 4S to force you to buy a new phone. And I don't know how true this is, but it is possible. And so that basically concludes the technical specifications. It runs horrible on iOS 9, and but there are some things you can do to actually speed it up again. The first one is you can jailbreak easily. iOS 9.3.5 and 9.3.6 all have jailbreaks, they all have jailbreaks, but they are tethered. But it's better than not having anything. So you can jailbreak this, play around, add some tweaks to speed it up, like the animations, or you can just downgrade it altogether. You can actually downgrade this to iOS 6, and you can downgrade this to iOS 8, which is pretty cool. So you can give some life back to it. And that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be downgrading my iPhone 4S to iOS 6. However, there is also another way to actually downgrade the iPhone 4S. So they recently released this new tool called Decify. It's a downgrade tool where you can downgrade the iPhone 4S to any version of iOS above any word it's shipped with. For example, my iPhone 4S model is from 2012, so I cannot downgrade this to iOS 5. But if I wanted to, I could. The only version I know I cannot downgrade to, normally is with iOS 7. So if I wanted to, I can downgrade this to iOS 7. However, it's a tethered downgrade, but it's better than nothing. So luckily, the downgrades to iOS 8 and iOS 6, you just do it with the jailbreak, and it's untethered that way. So that's what I'm gonna do right after I downgrade to iOS 6 and I kind of make a video on it. However, there was actually a little challenge that I kind of pushed myself to do, and since this is the iPhone that has aged the worst out of any iPhone, I challenged myself to actually try to live with this iPhone for an entire week. Yes, you heard that right. Why? I don't know, because I hate myself. So, I thought of a little idea, and I'm gonna do a challenge where I will live with this iPhone 4S for an entire week if this video can hit 20 likes. Now, you may be wondering, Nick, you have 10k subscribers, why 20 likes? Well, you guys know how my fan base is, go animators. If you know, you know. But yeah, if we can get this video to 20 likes, I will live with the iPhone 4S for an entire week at one point. When will I do it? If I do it, I don't know. Maybe February. And there's also other things I'm trying to do. I'll probably also ask my Snapchat viewers to, like this video, get to 20 likes, and screenshot, because there've been challenges I've seen or stuff I've seen on Snapchat, like this many screenshots, I'll do this. Well, I'm gonna do it if I get 20 screenshots on one of my Snap stories. I will live with it, with the iPhone 4S. I will do that, and with the amount of likes I get on this video. And I'm not looking forward to it, but it's kind of something I've been wanting to do for a while now. It was basically since February of 2019 that I kind of saw one of my favorite YouTubers, 91 Tech, live with the iPhone 4S for a whole week, and I figured maybe I should try it too. Even though he said not to do it, but I want to push myself. I honestly don't care. I've lived with my iPhone 6 for a week back in September, and that thing had a pretty bad battery, and it was practically almost unusable, and it was so bad. And it couldn't have come at a worst timing because that's when iOS 14 was coming out. But yeah, and my iPhone 6 is pretty bad, and I know the iPhone 4S is probably going to be a lot worse just because of how bad it's aged. But if this video can get 20 likes, I will do it. I will live with the iPhone 4S on iOS 9 for a whole week. And yeah. Also, something else I forgot to mention of this iPhone is the battery. So battery life on the iPhone 4S is not that great, but that is going to vary device to device depending on how used it's been over the years. My model is not that good in terms of battery health. It's at 76 capacity. I checked this on 3U Tools. The size of the battery is 1,432 milliamp hours, which is a pretty tiny battery, but then again, the phone is pretty small and doesn't have a lot of power with that, processing power. So, I mean, for my model would die after a day of standby, after like a day or two. Actually using it, getting through the day, I don't know how that's going to be. Again, it really depends on, how heavily used this iPhone has been over the last 9 years, which is pretty crazy. And then next October, this iPhone will turn 10 years old. And I plan to do a special video with the iPhone 4S for its 10th anniversary. Basically, because this was the last iPhone that was released around when Steve Jobs was alive, and this was the last iPhone he announced, and then the day after he passed away, which was pretty sad. So yeah, next year I'll do a very special video dedicated to Steve Jobs and the iPhone 4S. Okay, so now let's discuss if whether or not this phone is worth. Okay, yeah, I'm obviously joking. No, I'm not even gonna say anything else. Don't buy this phone anymore to use on a daily basis. That would be a bad idea. It's a bad idea. And even though I know I bought it and I'm challenging myself, that's because I'm a stupid idiot. You don't be me. I'll tell you that right now, unless you really want to put yourself through hell. And yeah, now if you want to buy this to actually collect, that's a different story. For that reason alone, I'd say go for it. Looking on eBay, the cheapest you can find this is $10, and the most expensive one I know is still around $100, which that is not good. If you can find one for at least $15 to $20, anywhere between $15 to $35, at that point, that's a good deal for the iPhone 4S. Anywhere between $35 to $50, I don't know about that, but anywhere between $15 and $35 is a good deal for an iPhone 4S. I bought mine for, I believe it was $20, and yeah, it was in pretty good condition. This basically in mint condition. I think the side has a couple scratches, I don't really know, but it looks pretty good. And yeah, to actually buy this phone to use on a daily basis is a horrible idea because it runs like crap on iOS 9, and it really sucks how Apple ended it because it's a really awesome phone, and the design is freaking gorgeous, and I don't know, I just really hate how it ended, how it has to end on a pretty bad version, where it performs awful. Same thing happened for the iPhone 4. It runs like crap on iOS 7. Yeah, at least now Apple doesn't really do that with their newer iPhones ever after with the iPhone 5 when it got stuck on iOS 10. Still runs pretty good, and I've used an iPhone 5 on iOS 10. And it runs pretty good, and the 5S and 6 on iOS 12 run pretty decently. And those are the last iPhones, that are discontinued after the 4S, and those have aged pretty decently. If you're actually thinking of buying this to use on a daily basis, slap yourself across the face and just buy an iPhone SE. You can find for as low as under $50, and trust me when I say that's just gonna be a bazillion times better than the iPhone 4S, and it runs iOS 14 and it runs pretty well. So that's probably what I would end up recommending instead. And actually, if you're trying to buy any old iPhone to use as a daily driver, just buy an iPhone SE or an iPhone 6S. That's just gonna be the much better deal overall, as it's not that expensive or much more expensive than these older iPhones, and they can run the latest version of iOS with absolutely no problem at all. Alright, and it's about time I think we close off the review. I think this is my longest review so far, like 20 minutes I think, or I think my iPhone 6 one was a little longer. Actually no, this is my longest one. It's like 23-ish minutes, somewhere around there. So sorry if I wasted a lot of y'all's time, but I don't know. This is one review I've been wanting to do for a long time. Actually, all these reviews that I'm gonna get out soon are ones I've been trying to do. one. But I think my next one I'm gonna do is the iPhone 6 in 2021, as I still haven't gotten that iPhone 6 from my friend, but I think he's gonna give it to me on New Year's or something like that. And then again, I think after that I'm gonna do the Nintendo Switch review on that, and then just kind of go down the line with the other pieces of tech I have. And yeah, so I think this is gonna be the last actual video of 2020. The next video I believe I'll be doing is the year in review, and boy, get ready to hear a big rant on this year. This year, you know what, I'm just gonna save all my crap for that video. And once it's New Year's, I don't know what videos I'll be doing, because, you know, right after it's New Year's, I have, you know, it's gonna be the weekend, then I have one day off, and then I'm back in school. And my break has so far been pretty bad, because we've kind of been isolated for reasons I don't want to say, but I think a lot of you know that I've been sick, that I got sick last week. As of recording this now, it's the Sunday after Christmas. I'm not sick anymore, but some other things came up that I am not gonna say. But yeah. Anyways, so that's gonna be it for this video, guys. So thank you guys so much for watching. This is probably again gonna be the last video of the year. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.